Hey, what's up, guys? This is Llywellyn. I wanted to make a new video today and update my previous Bitcoin analysis, which I did a couple of weeks ago. And I decided to just do it live on YouTube. It's my first time doing this, so if I mess it up, I'm sorry. But I decided to just do it here, even though I'm sure that nobody will watch it live, because this is like my third or fourth video. So that because last time, man, it took like 6 hours to upload. So trying to streamline this thing, get it more efficient. But anyway, so if you haven't watched the previous video, just go to my channel and check it out. That's where I have the original prediction that came to me. It's a vision from the Bitcoin God, and I mean that kind of as a joke, but kind of seriously. It was like an actual epiphany that happened where I kind of was staring at the chart and just made a realization that I just saw it in a completely different way than I had before. So even though I kind of say that as a joke, I kind of mean it too. And I think that I kind of just believe overall that the things in crypto and in the world are kind of culminating to this point right now. And I don't know if you can feel it in the air, but it feels like something is kind of changing. I feel like there is some optimism coming back in the crypto space. And so, I think that's all tied together. So one thing I want to say real quick first is this is a prediction. This is not instructions for how to trade. This is what I think is going to happen. I use technical analysis to verify and to prove what I'm discussing, but there are a lot of great technical analysts that will give you a completely opposite prediction. And sorry, pardon me, I'm drinking a beer. So yeah, I'm not telling you how to trade this. I'm not saying, do this, do that, load up 100% on Bitcoin right here. I'm saying this is what I think is going to happen. As a trader, you're responsible for taking into account the different scenarios that can come up. There will always be a bearish case, a bullish case. There is a bearish case for Bitcoin right now, and it's a strong one. We've been in a downtrend for 5-6 months. So obviously you have to respect that. But that being said, this is what I think is going to happen. And so that's the last thing I'll say about the bearish prediction. It's just be aware. Obviously, I can't see the future, but maybe I did. Maybe the Bitcoin God came to me and showed me exactly what's going to happen. That's for you to decide. This is not financial advice. However, I feel pretty good about it. So I wanted to start out with a fresh chart. And actually, first, let me go back and just talk about so I made a Steemit account, and I also put this on TradingView, but I kind of described what I saw happening. This was published on 12 days ago on May 23rd. So that's kind of like an eternity in crypto. I'm sure you know that. So I was talking about this fractal, and these were the predictions that I made at the time. Let's see. So, okay, if we see the same thing happen in this current structure, should bottom around 7K slash 6,900 before starting the next wave, a leading diagonal for subwave 3 of primary wave 3. So I was talking about how once the downtrend ended, to look for a first wave leading diagonal. So just going back and kind of seeing what happened. So that was May 23rd. So we were right here. Where'd my toolbar go? All right, so that's kind of when I saw it, and I said, "Hey, based on this fractal, based on what I'm seeing, um, 7,000, is where we should bottom out." And we hit 7,000 almost on the dot, 7,043. So that was the first part of it. Absolutely came true. And then look for a leading diagonal start forming coming out of that downtrend. So, and that's what we're getting. Now, I'll go over the specifics of the actual wave count here, but even if we just look at this fractal, we compare this guy to this guy. I mean, there's definitely a similarity there as far as the angle that they're trending and whatnot. Now, I don't think we're done with this yet, so I'll talk about that more. But so far, so good. That's kind of the criteria I've been going with. Is I put this up on TradingView and I said, you know, what was my little caveat here? Things change. But all I know is that right now, so far, we are following this fractal almost to a T. And so far, 12 days later, that continues to be the case. So far, we're doing exactly what I was talking about. Now, I kind of drew some squiggly lines on here. And if you play it forward, you can see that what we've I can't. Can I do this? What we've been through so far, man, that's pretty close. Look at that. It's not bad at all. But I expect that. I don't think we're done with this pattern. I think that we'll continue to see this kind of play out for the next little bit. Again, I'll go into that later. But so far, so good. So far, we're getting exactly what I was hoping we'd get. See, the other thing was, in addition to the diagonal, it was, and this kind of goes along with it bottoming out, but looking at the fractal, I was saying we should get about, I said, like more than a 70, beyond the 786 fib, about 88% total. So we did. We didn't quite make it to the 88. That would have put us at the lower end of that prediction, but we did. We did come through. So if we're taking all of this as a wave here, that's wave 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then yeah, we came down below the 786. And then the other thing I talked about was that based on this little fractal here, we wouldn't quite come down and hit the trend line. We would come up a little short. And I'm going to delete that. Lo and behold, we came down short of this trend line. Now, some people are calling for it to go down for another low. I'll just say right now, I think that we've bottomed out. Of course, things can change, but in my view, we are taking the shape of a diagonal here. And if we go back below 7,000, I think, obviously this trend line could support it, but I will be far less optimistic if we come back below this. I think our best bet for the bullish scenario to play out is for this to have been the bottom of this wave. And then we move on from there. So as far as previous predictions are concerned, so far, so good. So far, it's going great. I wanted to start with a fresh chart here so I could just kind of think through this with you. So this is the triangle. And all right. So I think what's likely to happen is, and this is based on this fractal too, but also just typically what you see happen in with Bitcoin and with charts in general. I think this wave one is going to drift up and maybe not quite test this boundary, maybe come close to it. But I would think that wave one would press up a little further here, closer to the boundary of the triangle. We'll see a retrace, and then the breakout from the triangle would happen in wave three. So let me just label this real quick. So I had this basically labeled as, now you can debate the specifics of, that retracement, the nuances of it. I'm mostly concerned with how I think it's functioning. Okay. So with Elliott wave, obviously you can get in and you can really get into the nitty gritty of the rules and everything that's happening with it. But I'm less concerned with that. And I'm more concerned with what I think is happening in the big picture and how it's functioning. So as of now, and as part of this prediction, I kind of just have that as the retracement, and then we have wave one here, wave two down here, 1, 2, and then this is wave one of three. This is wave two of three, and then I'm not going to measure this out perfectly, but I believe I had wave three going to about 20K and then up to like 25. Yeah, 1, 2. See, I had 3 at 21. And then 4 was 18,500. So again, I'm just doing this quickly to keep it moving. But in the big picture, that's basically what I had. Okay. And so as far as this wave is concerned, that's wave 1, 2. And then this is the start of wave 3. 1, 2. And then I think I had it going to, I can't remember. I'll have to look at it again. But something like this for wave 3. Just do that. Because I don't have it exactly charted out here, but the important part is this is wave 1, this is wave 2, and then wave 3 would be the big wave where we go up to 15 or 16K, something like that. since we had this deep pullback, we would expect a shorter pullback in wave 4. And again, I'm just putting these here to demonstrate the prices and not the specific times when this would be happening. But in a nutshell, that's what I had. Right. So as part of wave 3 of 3, then then it would be something like this: 1, 2, 3, or whoops, fix this. 1, 2. Again, this isn't going to look pretty right now, but okay. Okay. And I'll label that white. So in my view, right now, I think we're probably still in wave 1. And I think that this bigger wave will form over the course of the next few days, weeks, and we'll see a pullback and then before the breakout. So that's the overall prediction there. So something like this. Because typically wave 1 usually doesn't have the juice to break out from hard resistance like this. Wave 3 is the strongest wave. Wave 3 is where we would expect to see enough energy in the chart to, and this is really ugly, sorry. I think you know what I'm getting at though. But something like that would fit with the fractal. Okay. This was the fractal here. And it just makes sense as far as Elliott wave is concerned, and is the way technical analysis usually works, that if we were going to get a breakout, we'd probably come up, test this boundary. You wouldn't just push through it. There's going to be resistance there. And my guess would be that this might seem like a pretty nasty sell-off here. This might freak some people out. And when it comes down, it'll be, this wave would be a really strong one. I think you might see a strong push down in wave 2, and then the bulls would just have to answer with a really strong push here to get out. And then once it's out of the triangle, it's going to fly. And obviously at that point, the next thing we would need to do is create a new swing high. But that's neither here nor there right now. As part of this prediction, so I think we're getting the first stage. I think we're maybe even in wave 1 of 1, something like that. It's hard to say this pattern. I'll zoom in a little bit here and talk about this count. This has not been the easiest pattern to pick out. And that's kind of what I was talking about in the previous video, was this wave 1 is not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be herky-jerky. It's going to be it's going to feel like it should sell off a lot, but then it's going to just keep going. That's how these wave 1s are a lot of times. I don't know if you remember back here, but that's exactly how this was. This whole pattern, every analyst I saw was saying, this is probably a continuation pattern downward, and that, Bitcoin's going down to like 5,000. People were calling that, including myself. And then this happened, and it just it kept going up. And then finally we got the breakout. And so I think we're seeing a similar type of thing. And it makes sense when you think about what a wave one is. A wave one comes out of a downtrend. Or if you're talking about a bullish wave one, you're ending a downtrend, you're reversing into an uptrend. So there's a lot of selling pressure there. And until the sellers get broken, they get completely exhausted, they're still going to be there. And just look at Twitter, look at what's going on. There's a lot of people saying this is a bear flag. People are saying this is a bear flag. Damn it. This thing, it's breaking down. We're going to just continue to, fall down through this triangle, and God knows where the bottom is. And maybe that'll happen. You need to be ready for it if it does. But I'm just telling you that if we were looking for a wave one, we're getting about what we would expect. We're getting a bullish wave that's not that impressive, that there's not a ton of volume here, but every time it seems like it's going to fall off, bulls answer. They keep answering back. And so that's, until proven otherwise, this still conforms to my original expectation of what we would see. Now, the bearish scenario, just real quick, it's really simple. If it breaks below this line, we're in a bear market for a while. It's going to continue probably for the rest of the year. So I was saying too, this is the bullish scenario. This is the we need to essentially see this scenario play out in a break up and out of this triangle in order to have hopes of another bull trend this year. Okay. So that's basically what I'm watching. I'm watching this trend line. And if we break below it, then this whole scenario is over. And like I said earlier, even if we come down below 7,000, I will really start to be skeptical of it. Okay, so in the big picture, we're following what I was expecting we would do. I'm really optimistic about it, and even today. So sometimes I feel like I'm this like lone voice out there right now, where I keep just seeing all this bearish stuff. And let me just show you what I posted today. So this was this morning, but these were kind of the two scenarios I was envisioning, where, if it's still possible, even though we broke out of this wedge that people were looking at, people were saying, hey, we're in a wedge, and it broke down, so we're going down from here. And I was making the point that, well, there's still a scenario here where we can get 5 waves, because, and the reason I was saying this was kind of a strange structure is because the waves aren't clearly conforming at this point to Elliott wave conventions. So one of the key rules to Elliott wave is the third wave cannot be the shortest. So what I had been going with before, or at least initially, was like a wave 1 here, 2, and then this was like 3, 4. But the problem is we got this big wave 5, or what would have been a wave 5, which invalidates the Elliott wave rule. The wave 3 can't be the shortest, and in this case, wave 1 and 5 would both be longer. So once we got this stronger wave here, that scenario got thrown out the window. So again, I was looking at it today. Well, I think even though that happened and even though this wedge broke down, there's still a scenario where we can get 5 waves here. And even in the big picture, this is one of the things where you have to be careful with Elliott wave when you get into the lower time frame um, charts. There definitely can be some funny business in here that the counts might not always match up how you think they will. So I guess I'm just saying it still may be functioning as a wave one type of structure, even if we can't get the waves to work out precisely. So that's why we're looking at key levels as far as breaking down below the triangle, down below 7,000. That's where it truly gets invalidated. But in my view, there's still potential for this to work. And so far today, we've seen some progress. So just get rid of this. Okay, so here was the count I was going with, or that if we see this come to fruition, this would be my count. So we'd have, let's see, I have this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get a 5 somewhere up there. Let's draw this again. Okay. Just fix this up a little bit. Okay. So the way I was looking at this was, 1, 2, we have 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that's wave 1. And then ABC. Yeah. Again, I'm doing this kind of quickly, so not everything is going to be perfect, but I did it earlier today and everything worked out. So let me do this. Okay, so, and this wouldn't be uncommon for a leading diagonal to or at least even if we don't get a true diagonal, but for the first wave, especially for Bitcoin, what we've seen it do in the past, to get a longer wave 1, and kind of see wave 3 a little shorter, and then wave 5 even shorter. So then wave 3 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep things consistent here. And then A, B, C. That brings us down to 4. And, looks like we may have a little 5-wave structure here. It's possible. Are we starting a 5th wave? I mean, that's what we got to see. Could have like a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. I mean, it's hard to say at this time frame, but there's potential for it. And then the important thing here is if we continue to trend up, in order for this to be wave 5 and abide by Elliott wave rules, it has to be shorter than wave 3. So actually, you know what? I'll use my trend tool here. Okay. So wave 5 can't go higher than this one. Assuming that, again, assuming this is wave 4, we'll see what happens in the near future here. But assuming wave 4 is in, and we're starting wave 5, cannot go higher than that. Cannot go higher than about 7,900. If we break over 7,900, then we have something else going on here. Let's see. So we can create a channel here by connecting waves 2 and 4 and drawing it up to 3. And you can see this, you know, it actually fits kind of nicely. This clearly, the bottom of the channel clearly has been a support for this price action here, that price action. So we have, you know, 4 touches there. And then we would expect that wave 5 would stay within this channel going up. So let's just measure, I just like to give myself a frame of reference. So if we take wave 1 down to 2, so wave 3 went up to a little over the 786 fib. So maybe we end up with a friggin' line. You know, that would be 7,800 maybe. That's what I'd be looking for this. I wouldn't try to push it too much higher than that. And, you know, just for, let's see, maybe, you know, I don't know. I just like playing out these potential scenarios so I can see if things make sense a certain way or not. So if, let's say, you know, maybe this is wave 1, maybe it comes down, we would expect it to stay within this channel. So, you know, we wouldn't expect a retrace to be further than the 786. So if we come down to the golden pocket region here, so if we got that, then say, well, where might we expect our third wave to be? Well, at least, I mean, in order to make it up to the 786, we're going to need a decent, probably up to the 2.618. So maybe we get something like that. Come on. You know, then a retrace, and then, you know, something like that. And a lot of times with Bitcoin, we see wave 5 take on about the size of wave 1. So again, I'm just totally speculating here, but actually look at that. So yeah, that looks all right. So again, why am I doing this? I do this just so I have an idea of what I'm looking for. I use Elliott Wave to give myself a reference point for where we are in the chart and what should be coming next if conventions are followed. Obviously, it's never a guarantee. It can change at any time, but it at least gives me a point of reference here. And just looking at this makes a lot of sense. That's what I'm looking for usually is, does it make sense for this to happen? Well, yeah, this was clearly a support and resistance here. You can see there's a lot of price action there. So would it make sense to go up there? Yeah, of course. Just look back just for S and Gs. Where did we hit for 315? Yeah, so that was a shorter one. That was wave 3. So yeah, maybe we don't get quite that. Maybe we end up here and then we get a longer 5. But anyway, it's still on the table. It's definitely still on the table. And the fact that a lot of people aren't looking for it, I think, honestly, I see it kind of as a positive sign. I was posting earlier today that, on one, I was just pointing out that fractal, and then I was pointing out that I was drinking a beer, which I still am. But, this is the 2-hour chart, and we have some nice hidden bullish divergence here. The Stoke was oversold. Let's take a look at where we are now with that. So yeah, I mean, so hidden bullish divergence is when the oscillator is making a lower low, but price is making a higher low. And I kind of think of it as, in order for price to continue to move up, the oscillator needs to make room for it to move up. You can't just be on red the whole time up here, at 90 RSI. You need it to come down so that it can reload so you can go back up. And Stoke is a great example of that. You just see it go back and forth. You need to reload so you can continue to move up. So far so good. I think things are looking pretty good. MACD. So we're looking at the 2-hour where the histogram is trending up. We had a RSI or a Stoke crossover. Stoke is, we just had a nice little bounce here, and we haven't even really moved into out of the oversold region much. And this is on the 2-hour chart, so this could run for a little bit. This oscillator, or the oscillators, are giving us the go ahead to move up to this wave 5 if we want it. It's on the table. It's definitely plausible. So looking at the 1-hour, yeah, we're getting a bullish cross here. Now, Stoke is overbought now. So, again, maybe we're seeing the second wave come in. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to break below this. That would be a pain. Although we can still come down a little further. Is the point at which this particular count dies is if it goes below 73.28. So again, doesn't invalidate the entire structure and what it might be doing, but it would invalidate this count. We would have to go back to the drawing board. So I'm looking for it to definitely stay above that. I think this channel is nice, so I'd like to see it stay within this channel. But I think, again, I think the oscillators look pretty good. Like it looks like, we're gonna retrace a tiny bit here, but then hopefully we get the bigger push. I was calling for this earlier today, and actually, if you look at you should join my Telegram. Only 22 people in here, but I've been loading this thing up all day. Okay, I put way more in there than I do on Twitter. But the histogram was ticking up all day. You can see it even better on the 30-minute. We were just ticking up for most of this downtrend. We had bullish divergence like this entire way down. Stoke was bullishly diverging. Everything was bullishly diverging. So it was begging for a bounce there. And it made sense. So yeah, so now we're regrouping a little bit here, but we're not seeing like a really nasty high volume sell-off. We're just this feels normal. So long story short, I'm sticking with it. Sticking with it for now. As I said, I'm looking for it to hopefully not drop below 73.28 in the short term. By short term, I mean like today. But this is the way these waves have been looking. This is the way these waves have been starting. So we want to stay above that. For this count, we want to stay below 7,900. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing if we kept going up. That would be fine. But for this count to make sense. And then again, just to put it into the big picture. Oh, here's another thing. So, and I pointed this out on Twitter too, but yeah, so hidden bullish divergence with any of the oscillators, you can look and see. This is why I knew we were bounced, because the oscillators had fallen so far into the oversold territory, and they weren't even wasn't even approaching these levels where, we're already oversold. Once you're that oversold, it's hard to keep moving down. That's why you end up getting a reaction in the other direction. It doesn't mean it can't, regroup and then continue down, but I was at least thinking in the short term we would get this bounce, and you could see it all the way even up to the 2 hour, and I think even on the 4 hour, but you see it in the MACD, same thing. I like when multiple oscillators are giving me a signal. And then, if, we go up to the 4 hour chart and it looks even better. Stoke is oversold still. We're just getting the crossover on Stoke here. MACD is trending down a little bit, but it's leveling off. But even more than that, we got some nice reversal candles here. Got this like little bullish hammer, and yeah, so so far so good. Let's see how this plays out the rest of the day. But I think just overall it has a bullish feel to it, and I think we're setting up for, as I said, to kind of. I'd be surprised if we get a really high volume breakout up here, but I think we'll kind of drift this way for the next couple of days. That would be my guess. That would be my guess, or maybe up to this level or something like that. I mean, people are always looking for head and shoulder patterns and stuff like that. Well, if you're into that stuff, check this out. What if we get a wave one that goes up to here? We don't quite make it to the boundary, but we could, depending on how long it takes, we could end up right around there. Maybe we get a sell-off down to here, something like that. Again, I'm just totally speculating, but like, then you have this bullish pattern here. So these are just the things I like to prepare myself ahead of time for, so that if they come to fruition, and I'm verifying with my indicators and things like that to make sure that everything is looking as expected. But Hey, would this price action surprise me? No, it looks like it's kind of asking for this, in my opinion. Bitcoin a lot of times doesn't do what you expect it'll do, but as of right now, that's kind of feels all right. I also posted in my Telegram group, and I'll wrap this up in a second. It's a little long-winded. Um, you know, hopefully, I was hoping that we would be able to hold in the short term this RSI trend line that we're starting. So this is another reason why I'm optimistic that that we're going to keep pushing up here, because it looks like we're getting support on this RSI trend line. We're looking at the 4-hour chart, so this isn't anything to sneeze at. This is a longer time frame than a lot of them, and we kind of have a nice little trend forming here. And you could see how, if you just project out, if we were to continue the same uptrend angle that we're on right now, I mean, you could see how that could take us all the way to the edge of the triangle without getting too overbought. I think that's one other thing I wanted to point out. Move all this shit. But yeah, I like the way it's setting up. I know there's a lot of negative Nancy's out there. I don't know, man. I'm bullish on this right now. I'm just saying, like, obviously it goes without saying, you gotta be prepared for any scenario. Okay. I'm not saying like dump your life savings into Bitcoin right now. I'm just saying, you know what? I like the way it's setting up. I like the way this looks. Okay. So like, let's say, all right, so we have a clear like trend here. Okay. And then so sorry, just moving a bunch of stuff around. Okay. So yeah, like, no, I don't think we'll just be like, making these little tiny moves up here, but can this pattern as it currently exists support a diagonal? The apex is nearly at the boundary of the triangle as it currently stands. Okay. These are just the things that I try to pay attention to, because I feel like it's not random when things like this happen. This apex is pointing to the edge of this triangle. It makes sense that this would be a first wave. Okay. And again, let me just go to, I created a more simplified fractal here a couple of days ago this is May 25th. So yeah, I put the three of them next to each other. And so the one thing I did point out was, yeah, we're getting a longer C wave down here. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think it looks all right. I think it looks all right. And I pointed this out before too, that I just think the fundamentals of Bitcoin, and there's just been a lot of good news coming out lately. I think we're due for a rally pretty soon. And all of this put together is it's keeping me thinking. I don't want to, if we get this, I don't want to miss it. That's where I'm at. Okay. This is Bitcoin we're talking about. This is the most bullish thing most of us have ever seen. Okay. So like in the long term, I'm erring on the side of being bullish on Bitcoin. I think the fact that more people have access to it now, more products are coming out, unless you believe that everything that happened last year was just a total fluke or it was manipulated, then I don't think then it seems unreasonable to believe that we're just going to keep falling into these like really incredibly low levels. Like, even as we stand right now, what are we at, a like a 70% retrace or something from the high? I mean, 65%. I mean, we're low. We're so far down right now from where we were even 5, 6 months ago. And yeah, that was crazy. That was like parabolic. Yeah, I know. But it happened for a reason. And I think overall, when you take a step back and you look at this chart, I think it looks pretty bullish. I think it's starting to turn up. And I think that we're going to see something like that happen in the next couple of weeks. At least that's what I'm hoping for. If we drop down below this triangle, all bets are off. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But as I said, I'm bullish on Bitcoin overall. And I think that I'm treating this right now, until proven otherwise, as an opportunity to buy some cheap Bitcoin and hopefully ride this next wave up to a new all-time high. So until I see otherwise, I'm going to ride with it. Hit me up if you have any questions or just want to chat. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Sorry I got a little wordy there, but let's hope we have some good weeks coming up. Cheers.